All I did was take my own baby home from the hospital. A mother has a right to do that, doesn't she?
Objection, Your Honor. It's Mr. Rutledge's job to ask the questions.
Yes, please refrain from making comments, Mrs. Swift.
Mrs. Swift, your little son was seriously ill, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. And he became ill while in the care of my husband, which tells you something about the quality of care he was receiving.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness's hatred is making her make unfounded opinions.
Yes, I'll sustain. Mr. Rutledge, would you mind if I addressed several questions to Mrs. Swift on this matter?
Certainly, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now, Mrs. Swift, you say that you simply took the baby home from the hospital. Does that mean you removed him without proper hospital release?
No, sir. He was recovered at the time. I simply took him home and gave him very good care like Mrs. Thomas said.
Your Honor, it should be pointed out to you at this time that Mrs. Swift was not the parent that had the baby admitted to the hospital.
Mr. Nelson, you will have an opportunity to cross-examine the witness.
Yes, sir.
Now, after you took the baby, Mrs. Swift, what did you do?
I found a nice place to live. A place where he could have a room of his own, and we were very happy.
Well, very well. I have no more questions, Mr. Rutledge.
Nor do I, Your Honor.
Very well. Mr. Nelson.
Mrs. Swift, you say your marriage broke up because of your husband's career, his work.
That was one of the reasons, yes.
Wasn't another reason infidelity? Your infidelity?
That's a lie. That's something he made up in order to take my baby away from me.
Mr. Nelson, unless you can show that the problem of the marriage directly affects the welfare of this child, you must not continue this line of questioning.
Your Honor, the character of the contesting parties here would... Yes, Your Honor. We'll save that for later. Well, Mrs. Swift, let's go back to the night that you went to April and Draper Scott's house. Was your son Jamie there at the time?
Yes, he was.
Before you arrived?
April was taking care of him at the time.
I see. And when you arrived, you had already purchased your ticket to London. A single ticket to London?
Yes. I bought a single ticket to London because I did not want to take my baby with me. He was only 8 months old. I did not want him to make the trip.
Because you intended on living there?
I intended on visiting there.
Oh, for a short time?
Yes, I just wanted to visit my mother.
And you had every intention of returning to Monticello?
Yes, my son was here.
Then why did you buy a one-way ticket to London?
What difference does that make? I didn't know when I was going to return.
You did buy a one-way ticket, didn't you?
Yes, I bought a one-way ticket. It was cheaper. I didn't have very much money. I assumed my mother would give me money to get home.
The real reason was that you never really intended on coming home. You never intended on coming back to the United States, to Monticello, or to your son.
That's not true. I'm here. Doesn't that prove it?
You're here because you had a fight with your mother.
No.
Oh, do you get along well with your mother?
Yes.
I see.
Sometimes. It all depends.
The real truth is that you have had bitter disagreements with your mother for years. She was less than cordial when you arrived in London, and she was very happy to see you come back to Monticello.
That is a lie.
Yes, I'll sustain. Look, Mr. Nelson, I don't see the point of all this.
Well, Your Honor, the point is that this witness is twisting the facts. The truth is that she gave away her son to the Scots. She had no intention of ever coming back from London, and she only did because she had a fight with her mother. When she saw her husband out of spite...
Mr. Nelson, you seem to have launched into your summary a bit early, now haven't you?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I have. Now, Mrs. Swift, did you give April and Draper Scott a letter giving them permission to raise your son?
I did give them a letter. Yes, that's true.
What did it say?
I gave them the right to take care of Jamie during my absence. I thought I should give them proper authorization. I am the wife of a lawyer.
Authorization to babysit? Isn't the truth that the letter said that they could take care of Jamie as they wish, raise him as they want, even adopt him if
That's
they want
a lie.
Yes, and then you found that letter and you destroyed it 3 weeks later, correct?
No.
You asked April Scott to give it to you, and then you deliberately let it fly out of your hands on the terrace of the
April Scott destroyed that letter, and I bet she did it deliberately so she could come here and lie.
May I remind you that April Scott has not testified yet?
No, but she will, and I know what she's going to do. She's going to come up on this stand and lie.
Mrs. Swift, I have to caution you about these outbursts.
Your Honor, I am sorry, but I am very upset. They are trying to take away my baby from me just out of spite.
The same spite that motivated you when you saw your husband taking care of his own baby.
He had no right. He wasn't even the legal parent.
He was the boy's father, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
You don't deny that, do you?
No, I don't.
Wasn't it only natural when you went off to London that you should ask him to take care of his own baby?
He wasn't capable. He didn't know how to take care of an infant. The only thing he knows about are indictments and courtroom procedures.
You hate your husband.
No, I love my baby.
Was it hate that motivated you? Was it jealousy that made you go into that hospital and steal that baby?
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll withdraw the question. When you took this baby, didn't you employ subterfuge to do it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Why didn't you just petition the court? I'm sure that's what the lawyers who you consulted told you to do.
No one wanted to take the case. They were all afraid to tackle the district attorney.
I see, yes. The real reason is that you didn't want him to come to court. You were afraid of what might be revealed here.
I didn't want to make a fuss, and neither did he. He was a public figure.
You stole that baby. You lied and you cheated. You manipulated to get that baby.
Yes! Because I loved him, and I'll do it again. I'll go to the moon if I have to get my baby back. I don't care whether it's legal or not.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor, request permission of the court to redirect.
Yes, go ahead.
Mrs. Swift, you stated that your purpose in going to London was to visit your mother. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was it because you felt you needed some emotional support?
Yes. I felt very alone.
Because of the breakup of your marriage?
Yes. I needed to talk to my mother. She was the only one who could have understood at the time.
So then this trip obviously meant a great deal to you.
Yes, it did.
Just as your mother meant a great deal to you.
Your Honor, this Mother's Day speech is very touching, but irrelevant.
Your Honor, I think it's extremely important to understand exactly what happened during the period of Mrs. Swift's absence as well as her return.
I will overrule the objection.
Now, Mrs. Swift, what did your mother advise you when you saw her?
My mother asked me if I wanted to bring Jamie over to London, and perhaps I wanted to live there for a while.
But you didn't think that was a very good idea?
No, she had her own life to live, and I didn't want to interrupt anything, so I came back to Monticello to get my baby and start a new life.
And so that's what you did?
Yes, as soon as I got my baby back.
Mrs. Swift, isn't it true that your mother visited you in your home only recently?
Yes, a couple of weeks ago. But she died in a tragic accident.
Yes. Yes, she died in a tragic automobile accident, didn't she?
Yes, and now I don't have anybody. The only person I have left is my son. All I have left is my baby.